Hi there, this is Jimmy Roberts. When it comes to the game of golf, there is no place on earth like the metropolitan area. It's always been a special place for the game of golf and also for golf writing. Some of the most esteemed and accomplished journalists covering the game work here. Now, you'll get a chance to hear them right here on the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association podcast. Enjoy.
Dave Donelson. I usually start by reading a biographical profile that I write on my guests, but I am going to read actually a biographical profile that you wrote on yourself. And I forget where I clipped it from, but it starts out by saying, I aspire to spark imagination. I write and create images as I explore the world in which I live. My journey as a journalist came when I was chosen editor of my high school newspaper. I turned pro when I became news director of a commercial radio station while simultaneously majoring in rhetoric and public speaking in college. My career in broadcasting eventually took me into television advertising, sales, and management. As an entrepreneur, I served as president and or founder of 4 companies before this latest iteration of my life as a freelance writer, artist, and photographer. I have to tell you, if I had to use a phrase to describe you, Dave, you are a Renaissance man. There's nothing artistically that I haven't seen you do. And I've been impressed with the fact that you started from very humble beginnings and some very personal hardships, and you have succeeded beyond, I'm sure, anyone's imagination, including your own. I do want to mention you currently are the golf editor of Westchester magazine and the former president of the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association. So, Dave Donelson, welcome to the MGWA podcast after that long-winded introduction.
Oh, Gordon, I can't believe that you found that and that you read that whole thing. But thanks for having me. I am obviously delighted to be here. I have seen so many of the podcasts. I think this is one of the great things that the MGWA has done in, 2 years now. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for people to meet and learn more about what we do as golf writers and a lot of the things that are going on in the golf community. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here, an honor if I do say so myself. I can't believe you dug up all that stuff about me. I appreciate, by the way, the fact that you've bought so many of my books. Well, that's great, Gordon.
I want to thank Hank Ola for his vision in coming up with this podcast concept. I do want to start with your career and your life a little bit more. I want to dig deeper there. Your autobiography indicated your biography spans broadcasting, entrepreneurship, and let's call it the arts. You've been all over the place. How does someone end up becoming the chronicler of 50-odd golf clubs in Westchester County, New York? I mean, is there an actual through line through all of that?
Well, let's see. I mean, I could, go back to the original Ted Nightline, which I love, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It all started at a little 1,000-watt daytimer in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Okay.
But I won't go back. That's a long, long, long story. I did, as you mentioned, I've done a lot of things. But the way I got into golf writing dates back to when I first started working for Westchester magazine. I'm a freelancer, and I worked for a lot of publications over the years, and I did a lot of things for them, a lot of different kinds of features. It's a lifestyle magazine, a city magazine, a great one that serves Westchester County. And I was talking with one of the editors one day about some feature that I was working on. She said, "You play golf, don't you?" And I said, "Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I have for now 65 years or something." And she said, "Well, we're doing a golf issue, and we wondered if you'd like to come. We're having a meeting to discuss some ideas, and would you like to come?" I said, "Well, sure, that'd be delightful." So being the salesman that I am, that's what I did in my previous career in broadcasting for the most part. I made up a list of ideas. I made up what amounted to a proposal and walked into that meeting not knowing what happened. And that's when I met Ralph Martinelli. And you may have noticed I dedicated this book to Ralph because he did indeed make it possible. Ralph was a avid golfer and a great guy, and he and I became great friends. I'd never met him up until that point. So anyway, I presented my ideas, and Ralph liked them, and a great friendship and working relationship was born. Ralph and I traveled all over the country playing golf together. We really developed the whole concept of the golf issue for the magazine, and it grew over the years. So that's how it got started. It was kind of serendipitous, and it's proved to be a great gig. I've got to say that. It's led to a lot of wonderful things, a lot of wonderful experiences. I have to say, too, that I dedicated the book to Ralph. Ralph Martinelli, unfortunately, passed away at the very young age of 57 through a medical accident. It was a horrible thing. It was one of the worst things, I have to say, that ever happened in my life. And in his memory, this book, I hope, will help people remember what a great guy he was and what an important golfer. He was a member of the Met Golf Writers Association, by the way.
Oh, okay.
In the last few years. So
Well,
anyway, that's how it got started.
Do you stay in touch with his family, with the Martinelli family? Will they appreciate
I do,
the dedication?
absolutely. Yeah, very much. Great folks. Rob Martinelli, the CEO, lives in Wilmington, Delaware. They have numerous publications up and down the East Coast. And Rob lives there. I play golf with Rob when he's in town, and Rich, one of the other brothers, runs the custom publishing division, and lives here in Westchester. And Rich and I play golf fairly frequently as well. And they're great guys, and I know some of the, I guess it would be the second and third generation family members that work at Today Media, the publisher, as well. So.
That dedication will be appreciated, greatly appreciated, I'm
Absolutely.
sure. So you, going back to your roots in golf, first of all, you claim in several places not to be a sports writer. Your roots in golf, you were not a country club kid. Your exposure to golfing started with you sneaking onto the local golf course and trying to find lost golf balls to sell them, right? And being chased off by the pro, right? And then you started as a caddy. The funds from this book are being dedicated or sent to a caddy scholarship fund. Is that correct? Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's correct, to the MGA Caddy Scholarship Fund, which is a tremendous program that's helped thousands of kids go to college in Westchester and Fairfield counties. And of course, the MGWA contributes to that. We're one of the big supporters. But I did want to dedicate the royalties from this book, all of them, to the Westchester and Fairfield, the Caddy Scholarship Fund, as well as some other supports going to the Met PGA Foundation. I'm a big believer in what they've done, especially with PGA Hope, which is a tremendous program that helps our veterans. So yes, I started as a caddy, as so many golfers did and so many golf writers did. I did so out of desperation, quite frankly. As you mentioned in my memoir, I grew up in poor circumstances, I guess is the best way to put it. And we were at one point in my life living in a cellar of a neighborhood tavern. The room that my brothers and I slept in had a dirt floor. And when mother remarried and moved into a 4-room house, I thought we moved into a palace. And that house happened to be located 3 blocks from a municipal golf course, Fairview Municipal Golf Course in St. Joseph, Missouri, that you mentioned. And I used to go over there. I'd wander over there and sneak under the fence and steal and try to find golf balls to sell back to the players. And I started caddying because we needed the money. I mean, quite frankly, this was at a time I certainly didn't get anything resembling an allowance or anything like that. So I started caddying. And I caddied for some blue-collar guys at this municipal course for $2 a loop. That was the going rate, and they'd buy you a Coke at the turn. That was your tip. It was a dime. But anyway, it did instill in me a love for the game, and those guys put together, cobbled together a set of clubs for me. I had one that was labeled a brassy. It had no number on it. And it did have nylon wrapping. It wasn't hickory shafted. Okay. It was a steel shaft. But that was how I got started in golf. And I've never looked back.
Well, do you ever have flashbacks standing on, let's say, the first tee of some of the most prestigious, clubs with only well-heeled multi-million-dollar members saying, "Oh my God, how did I get here?" I mean, you must have had those thoughts, right?
I don't have those thoughts, Gordon, but I do. I am thankful for all that I've received and all the help that I've received. I enjoy it. I have to say that I've never looked back with regret on many of the bad things that I've done, but I've also appreciated the opportunities that I've had, and that's what golf has been. Golf has opened some wonderful doors for me.
Yeah, I do want to talk in greater depth about your Golf Westchester book, but I want to talk about your first book, which was a business book.
Okay.
This business book right here, Creative Selling, Boost Your B2B Sales, which I took a particular interest in because that's my area. And what struck me about it, Dave, was you proposed a very different approach to selling, which traditionally was you do the discovery call, you take notes, and then you feed back in a proposal exactly what they've told you. And your approach was very different. You can elaborate on it, but my take on it was you do deep research on a prospect, and this was pre-internet days, and you come back with ideas and solutions that show that you can add value. So you're not just parroting back what they told you, you're allowing them to conclude that you can add value, which is what I call intrinsic selling. I mean, that was really so far ahead of its time.
That's the approach. Yeah, I absolutely believe it. I practiced it, and I was very successful at it, I have to say. And if you think about it, the first meeting with Ralph Martinelli exhibits that exact approach.
That's what I was.
I never met the man, didn't know what the product was because they didn't have a product.
Yeah.
And I walked in with a list of ideas. Here's some ideas. Here's some things we could do to make this a great success. And it worked.
Yeah.
And I built a whole career on that. And that was what my first book was based on, the sales training program that I developed using my techniques that led me into my consulting business. And that led me all along another path anyway. So that was quite right. I can't believe that book's been out of print for many years, Gordon.
Oh, I got a copy. I think it said last copy available. But
Probably.
Next time I see you, you're going to autograph it for me, right?
Happy to.
How well adopted was that?
I trained, I don't know, 1,000 salespeople using it, and many of them went on to great careers in broadcasting. I can't say that it swept the nation or anything like that.
Yeah.
One of the strangest things that happened was when that book came out, I had developed a website with my son, who's a brilliant coder these days. Anyway, he and one of his friends got together, and we built a website to deliver seminars online, sales seminars and sales consulting online. Mm-hmm. Now, Gordon, this was in 1995, I believe, and the internet was in its infancy. Right. We had what you're looking at now. The son and his friend developed a program that allowed video interaction over the internet to do just what we were talking about. And that book came out, and the website was launched. And the feedback I got basically from the people I was trying to sell it to, businesses and radio, television stations, was that, well, we'd love to buy your service, but our computers don't have sound, so we can't use it. I was a little bit ahead of myself on that one, Gordon.
I guess so. You were a businessman for 25, 26 years.
30, over 30 years, yeah.
So what impact has it had on you as an author of other types of books, including your novels and your poetry and everything else? Any at all, or?
Well, I think the business experience has impacted most everything I do. I mean, I'm a believer from a business standpoint of knowing what you're talking about. Oh, I fake it plenty of times, but mostly I try not to go into anything without researching it. Whether it's a sales call, a novel. I mean, my second novel, Heart of Diamonds, read about the Democratic Republic of Congo and its history for a year before I started even thinking about the story, just to get the background. And I basically approach fiction, the nonfiction books that I write, the travel books, the other things that I do from the same standpoint. It all goes back to that. You got to know your customer. You got to know your product. To do that, you have to research. You have to think about it. You have to dig into things.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
So it's Harold Hill. You got to know the territory.
That's right.
So this book, Fathers, a memoir. I mean, Frank McCourt has nothing on you in terms of, really tough. I had to put this book down on occasion because it was like somebody was stabbing me in the heart. It was a tough read initially, but really this is more of a memoir, not only about your father, but about your whole life. And it scared me a little bit because your life so closely paralleled mine in so many ways. This was biographical, really deeply biographical and very detailed. Was this the only biography that you wrote? The rest of them are fiction in terms of novels?
Yes. I mean, the of all the things I've done, I wrote this book actually for my son. I really had no intention. Realized when my grandson was born that there was a big section of my life that my son didn't know. I mean, your kids don't know your childhood.
Yeah.
So this book is a collection of things that really cover the period of my life up until the point when I became an entrepreneur and went on to the broadcasting business. It's my early life, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was written for him. And when it was done, I, of course, gave it to him, and I asked him if he would mind at that point if I published it, because I had done several books up to that point. And he was amenable to that, so that's why I put it on the market. But it was not intended to be. It's a memoir. It covers a lot of ground, as you mentioned, a lot of different things that it impacted my life and made me the person that I am. And, I'll tell you something I've told people in writing classes and other situations, writing something like this teaches you things about yourself. Yeah. I learned why I am what I am through the process of writing this book. For the better or for worse, it was an instructive process for me. Yeah. I learned about myself.
Yeah, it must have been tough for you also. It got really deep, So, I have one question on that book. Have you gone up in the attic to look for your stamp collection?
I have it. I do. I have that stamp collection. I have a cottage. That's where I'm sitting now, where I work. And it's upstairs in some of the big boxes.
Okay. Stuff. Don't give the backstory because people can have to buy the book to understand the reference. Okay, let's talk about your golf book. The introduction of the book says it describes it as a 20-year project. You played 18,000 holes, right? How many courses? 50 courses. Did you plan to have this be a book at the outset? What was the?
I certainly didn't start out writing a book about golf. As you know, the book is a collection of material that I've written over the years for Westchester Magazine and Met Golfer, other publications, the online work with the blog and stuff. And in a way, it's repurposing material. Most of it was written before, and it was written over that 20-year period. I realized last year, as I'm editing the annual edition of Westchester Magazine's golf issue, that I'd been doing that for 20 years. I didn't think about that until then. And I also realized I'm reaching a milestone in age in my life this year. So if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. It would be a good year to do it. So that's when I decided to put it all together and put out the book. I also, over the years, I've gotten a lot of inquiries. People know that I write books, and they said, "Well, are you going to write a book about this golf course or about that?" And so I realized I think there's demand, there's a market for a book of this type because it is different. It's not a book about the professional game at all. As you mentioned, I'm a lifestyle writer. I'm not a sports writer. Yeah. It's not a book of instruction. If there's not a bit of instruction in that book, I'm thinking about doing one of those. But anyway, I have a shelf full of books like that about autobiographies of great golfers and the great tournaments and the wonderful things in the Pro Tour. But there's no book about local golf in Westchester County in particular, which is a trove of material. There's so much information. There's so much history, and it's such a great subject. I had trouble narrowing it down. I mean, I obviously have thousands and thousands of pages, I don't know how many words of material about Westchester golf. And so my project really was narrowing it down to pertinent material and eliminating duplication and to try to make it interesting. And I wanted to make a book that was about the golf that people like you and I play. We're not professional golfers. We play local courses with local people. There are great stories in that. Every year I do profiles of local golfers for Westchester Magazine. As I'm playing these courses, I play with many members and things. And I met people like, there's a guy, Jason Fortin, who I met, I think it was 2016, and I was doing an article about families that play golf together in Westchester. And Justin was a member at Appowamus at the time, and he lived right across the street from the club. So I'm playing with his 3 wonderful kids and him. It was just a great story. Julian was 11 years old at the time, and Julian's on the autism spectrum. And Julian participated with us in the article, and he was great. A couple of years ago, I was playing with Jason again, and he told me that Julian, who is now 21 years old, made his first hole-in-one on the par 3 course at Westchester Country Club.
Wow.
Now, to me, that's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a triumphant story. Matches, I won't say maybe Rory McIlroy winning the Grand Slam, but
yeah.
Hey, it was a big story.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a relatable story to my readers, the local people that I see, that I play golf with. And so that's what kind of inspired the book, and that's the kind of flavor I tried to get to the book.
Yeah. Did you worry about some of the older stories that you had written, that they were out of date and you had to go back and refresh them because the members would complain that no, we don't do that anymore, or we've overhauled the club since then, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I debated. There was a question though. Okay, am I going to update everything in this, or am I going to kind of let it stand as it is? And for the most part, I decided to let it stand as it is. There were a lot of choices made, which holes to include. For example, every course I have a section on memorable holes, and so sometimes I would not include a hole that maybe has changed substantially since I wrote about it, or I would include, because I've been doing it for so many years, the 10th hole at Winged Foot West 3 or 4 times. So I would take the most recent ones to make sure that I was getting stuff. I didn't rewrite much. I did write some new material to go with it if I felt that it was kind of thin in some areas. But for the most part, the exception being when there was a big course renovation or a major change. For example, Anglebrook during COVID flipped their 9s to make it the course kind of an easier walk. Mm-hmm. And because members started walking the course when a lot of things changed during COVID. Well, it turned out that was a great thing for them to do. And because the opening hole now, instead of being the hardest opening hole in Westchester County, the original opening hole, now the first hole is a reachable par 5, and your round gets off to a whole other start. Anyway, there are a lot of good reasons for that. So when I did the book, I went back and renumbered the holes that I wrote about at Anglebrook, for example. And Pelham did a big renovation a few years ago where they rerouted the course, made some major changes in some of the holes. And so I went back and made sure my numbering on the holes was correct on that. But for the most part, hey, pros move from course to course, they retire, things like that change. I wasn't going to go back and redo all of that stuff. Sometimes, one of the old pros that hasn't been there for 10 years made a great comment, a really pithy statement about one of the holes. Hey, that goes in the book because that's interesting to me.
What's been the initial response from readers?
It has been excellent. The book's only been out now about a month, and I'm getting all kinds of great feedback. The golf community in Westchester really got behind this. Many of the pros are now stocking the book in their shops.
Oh, great.
You find it in the shop at Wingfoot. You can find it at Anglebrook. You can find it at Metropolis. Wow. And the pros are supporting it that way. They're adding it to the gift list for member guest outings and things of that nature. But the feedback I've gotten from the golf community has been excellent too. The social media feedback has been very strong. I received a note just yesterday from a woman that's a member at Westchester Country Club saying that she'd bought 3 books, one for herself and 2 for her friends. And I had one this morning from a member at Mount Kisco wanting to know, he got a couple of books. Can we get together so I can sign them for him? He invited me to come and play. I thought, well, of course. So, yeah, the response
Is there a market for the book outside of Westchester County, do you think?
Maybe or maybe not, Gordon. I mean, it's you can buy it on Amazon or any place, Barnes and Noble or any source. But I really think there's much market for it in Chicago, maybe in New Jersey,
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's going to be that kind of book.
Now, you make the argument in the book and in some of your social media that the courses have had a huge impact on golf. It's the birthplace of golf. So do you think that's understood, appreciated by people who play golf, or both inside and outside of this area?
I think the area, maybe 5% of the impact is known. I mean, if you go to the West Coast, yeah, people have heard of Winged Foot, and they watched professional golf at Westchester Country Club for 50 years. But I outside the area that it's particularly well known, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because the history is so rich. Now, I think locally, you will find people, many people are very cognizant of how golf has been to the rest of the country here and significant events that occurred here. The very first U.S. Open was played in Westchester County at St. Andrews Golf Course in 1884, I believe it was, before the USGA was formed, and that's the not particularly well known, but it's known in Westchester.
Yeah.
Don't
you make the argument that there's some of the Masters connected to Westchester course?
At Knollwood, Clifford Roberts was a member at Knollwood, and Bobby Jones played at Knollwood frequently. All the greats played at Knollwood Country Club. It's quite a club and still is. The legend goes that Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts were having lunch in the grill room at Knollwood, and that's when Roberts proposed to Jones that, hey, we should build this great course in Augusta, Georgia. And, hey, maybe we could have a tournament. I don't know if the plaque is still up. I haven't been there this year, but there used to be a plaque commemorating that conversation in the room at Knollwood Country Club.
Okay. So it's legend, right? Right. Cooked up by some PR guy, I'm sure. But hey, whatever. So you referenced COVID before, and I'm curious to know, because, I mean, prior to COVID, golf was suffering in terms of interest and membership at clubs, but then there was a big turnaround. Do you think that'll be sustained, or you think because of the current economic environment, we're going to lose some of that momentum?
There's no question that it has been a tremendous boost to golf in Westchester. I mean, it as everywhere, and that has, I want to say it's a bit, but almost all the private clubs in Westchester are thriving. There are very few that have that not really done tremendously well in terms of membership and players, and the private courts are just now, and the COVID, it hasn't really slacked off. COVID impacted us. If you think about it, if you go to 2008, and that Great Recession, and that's that did have an impact on golf in Westchester as it did every place else. But just to give you an idea of how strong the game is here in Westchester County, we lost exactly one golf course to the Great Recession. And that course was replaced by one that opened during the Great Recession, has thrived. I believe it was Ridgeway closed about the time of the Great Depression, but Pound Ridge opened in 2008, and it's done well. We've we've had turnover in courses, but they haven't been. We've net loss of one course in the last what would amount to 20 years almost.
Yep.
So while we're very to the financial markets as the stock market goes up and down, many of the belong to the private clubs, their fortunes go up and down.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen a fall here at all. So I don't expect one, to tell you the truth.
Are there any hidden gems in public courses that you're surprised doesn't get more play?
Well, I play a lot of public daily fee golf because I enjoy it, and there are some really good golf courses here in that category. Unfortunately, there aren't enough of them. Yeah. Quite frankly, Westchester has over 1 million people, and there are exactly 9 daily fee golf courses in the county. The county operates 6 of them. And one of my favorites, and I do think the real gem, is Saxon Woods. I write about this in the book. Mm-hmm. I love to go there. I show up at 6 a.m. and as a walk-on, they usually find a place for me, and me and a bunch of other old guys go out and sweep the dew. We play a 3-hour round, walking. Wow. 18. And Saxon Woods is a stone's throw from Quaker Ridge and Wingfoot. It's just on the other side of the Hutchinson River Parkway. Yeah. And so it is the same. Tillinghast had a hand in the design, I think, of the rebuilding of some holes in Saxon Woods after it was originally designed. Okay. So it has some touches of a course at it. Yeah. And I loved that course. It's available. You can if you're a non-resident, you can play. It's going to cost you. Yeah. But Westchester County Park Pass holders get to play. I'm a senior, and I think it cost me $26 to walk that course. Wow. Which I do.
You still walk this course?
And the other great daily fee course in the county that I highly recommend is Pound Ridge. It's a Pete Dye design. It's the only Pete Dye course, I believe, in the state of New York. And he and Alice did a great job of, and Perry was a part of that too, did a great job of a golf course on an existing 9-hole that was there. Ken Wang supposedly spent, I believe it was $40 million to hire Pete and to build a really spectacular golf course. It's a great daily.
Yeah. In your book, you write about the conflict between traditional golf culture or etiquette versus more modern habits. And if you play public courses, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, one thing that irks me, because I play a lot of public courses, is someone will slap a speaker on the golf cart and start playing, Led Zeppelin while I'm lining my putt out. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, I'm not a big fan of some of these nuances, these new traditions, but
I'm in the same league with you on that one, Gordon. I love music. I'm a musician. There's a piano behind me, you notice, and I love music. I don't music when I'm playing golf because I want to concentrate on golf. Yeah. I love the social at the game. I have no problem with the guy drinking a beer at the turn, whatever. But I'm not a fan of music on the golf course. If you want to wear your jeans and a T-shirt, more power to you. I got no problem with that. God knows. Yeah. But yeah, leave the music at home. I'm sorry, and I apologize to Jimmy Roberts, who I know is a big fan of music on the, and he and I've played a round or two, and he plays, and I don't say anything because hey, it's Jimmy's round. So
I guess it depends on the music. Other than having a beer at the turn, there are guys I played with who their golf bag is just full of alcoholic beverages, and they start drinking on the tee, and by the turn, they're pretty well toast, and it's all downhill from there. I don't enjoy that either, because then it gets more animated and they get more vocal, and a missed putt is a major catastrophe, and I'm like, come on, that's not a modern thing. I see that's happened for years. Guys look at golf as just an excuse to get out and drink on the course, which I have an issue with. So before we get into your other artistic ventures, Are there a best or worst round that you can recall?
There's so many worst rounds. I couldn't begin to list those. And I have to say, I'm pretty good about putting them out of my mind. I mean, I try not to remember really bad rounds because they crop up, about every third or fourth round is something to be, the memory eraser needs to come out. But yeah, there are rounds that I remember and I've enjoyed. One of the stories I like to tell is it's my best round ever, of course. And it occurred in great circumstances at one of my favorite golf courses, which is at Anglebrook. And the backstory is I'd been putting terribly. I was having trouble with a putter that I'd used for 20 years. In the Westchester magazine had an outing at Anglebrook. And I was there, of course, and I walked into the pro shop before the round, and I said to the pro, I said, AJ, I want the heaviest mallet putter you've got. And so we reached over, and the Spider had just come out, the TaylorMade Spider, and he handed it to me. We took the wrapping off of it. I said, I don't care what it costs. I need to do something here. And so anyway, I went out with that putter. I took 5 or 6 strokes on the practice green and really liked this thing. And I was paired with Rob Martinelli, CEO of Westchester Magazine, and Robert Westenberg, who's one of their largest advertisers. He's the CEO of California Closets. And I don't remember who the fourth was. But anyway, the three were out there. And I had 11 one-putt greens.
Whoa.
Now, with this putter I'd taken 6 swings with.
Yeah.
And it turned 70. And I did not shoot I shot a 74, which is my best round. And It was a perfectly legitimate round, putted everything out, played from the regular tees. That round will stick in my mind forever. Wow. It was delightful. That's the round.
I have to laugh at your "I don't care what it costs" comment because that tends to be the mantra of most golfers. I can't get off the tee. I need a new driver. I don't care what it costs. At any rate, so before we leave the book topic, is there anything I didn't cover that you want to mention?
It has been a labor of love. I did a lot of down memory lane as I went back, wading through 20 issues of Westchester Magazine and all the issues golfer that I've contributed to, and I hope some of that comes through in the book. It is not a golfer per se, but it's written from a personal standpoint because that's the kind of writing that I do. These are my impressions. These are the things that I learned about the great history of the wonderful things that have happened at all the great golf clubs in Westchester. And it also reflects the great reception that the friendly atmosphere that exists in these private clubs. I mean, people think that, they're stuffy, they're stuck up, they're exclusive, they're guess what? For the most part, that's not true.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a more welcoming, friendlier place than Wingfoot. Yeah. You drive through those iron gates, and they're most of the time. You can walk into the pro shop and buy a shirt, and you're going to be treated with great respect, and you're going to be welcomed there. And the same thing holds true of the members that see you on the golf course. This holds true at every place that I've played in Westchester. So anyway, I hope that feeling comes across in the book, and I hope that it's reflected in the way that people, the readers, use it, which is to acquaint themselves with courses maybe they haven't seen, courses they haven't played, and maybe they'll learn which club you should hit off the first tee at Ardsley because it's a blind shot, there's a pond, and but you don't want to pull that driver off the bag there. Yeah. When you get to the 6th hole at Quaker Ridge, and you've got a 200-yard approach into that fantastic green, it looks level, but it's not. You aim for the right side of the green because everything goes right to left on that green. So anyway, I hope those kinds of things are in the book, and I hope that that people find.
I wish you the best of luck with it. I enjoyed reading it. I've only played a handful of the courses because I grew up in Connecticut and I live in New Jersey, so I only get to play Westchester courses when the MGWA has outings there.
Well, give me a call sometime, Gordon.
Oh,
We can arrange something, I'm
I'll call you as soon as we hang up here. So let's talk about your other artistic endeavors. You have 20 titles across fiction, nonfiction, poetry, memoir. And I would add, because I've heard some of your music, because you're a longtime guitar player, you bought your first guitar the same year I did. So most creative people tend to stick to a particular genre. You are everywhere. Every time I open some social media platform, you've either got a poem or a painting or a piece of sculpture. So how do you decide where you go? Is it just you wake up on a morning and you've got a urge to, paint something?
Pretty much, that's kind of the way it works. I've always got 6 or 7 in the works at any given point in time, and whatever I feel like that day, that's kind of what I do. I'm a curious person, and so I like to think. I'm working on a book now on the Mayan civilization. My wife and I made a trip to Belize. My son and I did a fabulous river trip on the Usumacinta River years ago, and I'm working on that into this book, like I did a book about Provence, and the book was the art and the artists that live in Provence, and my interpretation of the landscape, things they experienced. The art comes and goes. I've done it for years. I have to say that sometimes I work at it very diligently, and sometimes I leave it alone for weeks at a time, but it gets done sooner or later. Yeah. I have no fear of failure, Gordon. I don't profess to be good at anything. My God knows my golf game demonstrates that. But so what? If I shoot 85 tomorrow and 74 one day, and wake up, and the same thing holds true with writing and with art, with poetry that I do. I don't profess to be a poet, let's say, but when I got interested in it, I studied it and started working on it, and lo and behold, I was honored New York State Council of the Arts for a project that I had that included art and poetry, Visions of a Certain Age, which was kind of an interesting book that covered feelings about growing older when I turned that age. So I'll and guess what? If it doesn't work out, it's just paper and time that goes in the trash. If the piece of woodworking that on the wood carving comes out doesn't look like it's supposed to, guess what? It's firewood. So it's nothing lost.
Do you tend to go start to finish on a project, or do you have some that you've started and it's not clicking and you put it aside and go back to it?
I have a wooden rocking horse, that I started making in my wood shop, carving it when my grandson was born, and I thought it's going to take me a while, so I'm going to make this of a size so that when he's 4 years old, he'd be able to sit on it. And it's in pieces. It's half done. He starts driving this year, Gordon. He's 16, and the rocking horse is still shop. It's under progress. That the work on a novel about the house that I live in, which is a 300-year-old farmhouse. That was built by the Park family back in 1724. One of the people that lived here in the 1790 census was a member of the Park family, and that was an extensive family in Westchester County. It's fabulous history. They owned one of their farms was a country club. Wow. Anyway, he was the man that lived in this house. Was the only member of his family that did not own slaves in the 1790 census. Wow. Now, a mile from here as the crow flies, is a cemetery called Stony Hill, which it was the largest community of freed blacks in Westchester County that was established around 1778 or so by the Quakers. And the free black community lived there for up until World War I. And that cemetery houses the only man from the town of Harrison, where I live, who died in action in the Civil War. And he died in the Siege of Richmond in 1864, and he's a black man, of course, who was buried in that cemetery. So the novel that I'm working on, and have been for the last 5 years, is a multi-generational saga tying a fictional story of that man and his family and the fictional story of the man that lived in this house.
Wow.
He was 10 years old in 1776 when the Battle of White Plains was fought about a mile from here. Anyway, that project is ongoing.
Okay. Let me know. I'll buy a copy. I'm a big history buff. The Civil War. Okay, let me talk about a project that I thought was very interesting called the Sestina of the Quarrymen, which was a 50-square-foot mural displayed at Cranberry Lake. So this reminded me of the Christo Jean-Claude wrapping of the Paris landmarks. It's an outdoor exhibit of some sort. You can explain it. But before you, and I'm an English major, and I didn't know, I will admit, I've since learned, it's just a pretty amazing format. The fact that the words have to be the exact ending words in every stanza, which is, an achievement in and of itself. But talk a little bit about that project.
Okay, let's get the sestina out of the way quickly. Okay. Sestina, as you might expect, is in sixes. A sestina has 6 verses, each verse 6 lines, the 6 ending words in every successive verse in a different order. And there's a pattern that they have to follow. I couldn't begin to explain it to you now.
It's like
and
a puzzle, right?
Tail at the end. It becomes a puzzle. And I started doing that. When I decided to learn about poetry, I got the anthology of poetic forms. And I went through that, and I would read about a form, study it, and then I would write some myself. And so the sestina, I do a lot of hiking at Cranberry Lake Preserve, which is about 2 miles from my house. Cranberry Lake is where they quarried the stone that built the Kensico Dam Reservoir. The Kensico Dam came from the quarry there. And I get a lot of relief and boost from being outdoors. So I hike Cranberry Lake, and the idea to do this sestina it's really about the passage of time and our place in that. Because if you read the poem, you realize it's about the stone that the quarrymen took out to build it, and it will still be there when I'm long gone, to put it in a very short form. Anyway, the book came out, and this was part of the Visions of a Certain Age poetry collection that I won the award for. And I would do readings at libraries and things like that, and I'm hiking through Cranberry Lake one day, and I had the thought, there's a nature center there, a small building where there's some displays of things, and they do programs. And I thought, hey, I could do a reading here. That'd be fun. Maybe half a dozen people would come. And so I went in, and the curator, who I know, was there, and I said to Christina, of course I had copies of the book in my car, and so I took it out and showed her. I said, what would you think about if I did her here? And I'm showing it to her, and she said, oh, I love this, I love this, I love this. And I came to the sestina, and she said, oh yeah, because all the artwork in there, it's collages that were done with my photographs taken in the preserve and at Kensico Dam, and it's 4 8 spreads in the book. And she looked at me, she said, could this be made bigger? I said, well, what do you mean? She pointed to a corner, to one wall in the nature center, and there was a display there. She said, could this be blown up and mounted and put up there? I said, well, it could. I mean, I had to scan the artwork to go, so yeah. Anyway, to make a long story short, with the Westchester County Parks Department, took my digital files of the pages of the book and blew them up to a size to fit this space, and Christina and I mounted them on. It's inside the name. Reading that I did audio-wise, I read at Cranberry Lake at the Nature Preserve during Poetry Month this year. I recorded a reading that I did there for a small group, and I took the artwork from the book, and I put together a 2-minute video, a reel, that'll go up on social media, probably when we finish this afternoon, Gordon. So
wow, that's really
keep
cool.
an eye out for
that's
that.
Cool. You've had a long involvement with libraries, and you served as president of the Westchester Library System, the Harrison Public Library. So what draws you to those particular roles?
We talked a little bit about and how I grew up and what a rough and tumble and poverty-stricken childhood that I had. But you know what? The society in this great American enterprise that we're part of is a wonderful place, and it's people like me to get ahead. Now, I had a lot of help. A lot of people helped me. One of the big helps I always had were the public libraries. When my mother and when I was little, she took us to the public library. That's what entertainment we had. Yeah. So anyway, this is my way to give back. It's something that I can do. I have some knowledge as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, as a business consultant. I was very in a lot of ways in behind the scenes in a lot of companies, and I could bring that same expertise, which I can offer, to the public library field, and I found it receptive, and I found it very rewarding to do that work. I was on the board of the Westchester Library System for almost 20 years, was president for 4 years, and the Harrison Library a long time. The Met writers, I approached the same way. I was a member for a long time, and then when they asked me to join the board, as well, here's what I can offer, and I like to think that I contributed during that time. The organization is a great organization. It does a lot of good work. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys and gals that get together to play golf, but guess what? In doing that, we raise money for the Caddy Scholarship Funds, for New York, for New Jersey, for Long Island, for the Met Foundation. It's all good work, and it's all a way to pay back, and that's what I feel I'm doing that's why I do that kind of work.
So last question. Your career has taken a lot of zigs and zags, still is. Is there any zig you would have taken or not taken if you could go back and remap the journey?
I have to say no. I mean, were there things I would? I'm fortunate. I've had the help of a lot of good serendipitously. I've met a lot of wonderful people along the way. I've accomplished a little bit here and there, and like to think that I've made a bit of a difference. I'm a happy guy. I'm fulfilled. It's been a blast. Why would I change anything?
Yeah, I agree. I would call to task if I don't mention the MGWA Awards Dinner on October 6th at Mountain Ridge Country Club. So any listener that's interested in attending or sponsoring, we could go to the MGWA. I've enjoyed our conversation, and I appreciate your time.
It's been a great time. I've enjoyed it very much, Gordon. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.